Assalamu alaikum and welcome. You are watching Live with Rehana Ali today on 74 News. Today's topic is going to be the British MP's critical view on Kashmir, and the three guests which I'm calling today are going to be Fahim Gyani, President of Kashmir, and the second person is going to be Claire Bedwell from Let Kashmir Decide. She's the co-founder, and the third person is going to be Nigat Basharat, Vice of Sisters for Kashmir. Today's program is connected to the conference which took place for Kashmir on the 17th of May by Fahim Gyani, the president of Kashmir. Today we are going to be having a review on the topics covered in the conference. I would like to ask my first question from Fahim. So my question is going to be, in your opinion, what are the concerns of the President of Azad Jammu Kashmir, Masood Khan, regarding the domicile law and the possibility of a nuclear war to break out in South Asia and the world? What would you like to say?
Thank you very much, Rehana Ali. And you are hosting this program on a very important issue. You got a very prominent guest in this talk show as well, Sister Nigat, Claire Bidwell. And the question you are put to me, I think, so is regarding about the conference which was held by Kashmir UK on 17th of May. And in that conference, we had MPs from cross-party, MPs from Conservative Party, the Labour Party, Scottish National Party. They made their valuable contribution. As far as your question is concerned about the domicile law, it's not only the President of Azad Jammu and Kashmir is concerned about this issue. Every Kashmiri is concerned about this issue, and all those people who love peace, who love humanity, who stand with justice, who stand with equality, they are the concern about the modification of the domicile law. And we need to understand what is the modification have been made by the fascist Indian regime in domicile law. This state subject was introduced by Maharaja government in 1927, and he defined the rules of the domicile law on that time, and who should be given the permanent residence of state Jammu and Kashmir. Afterwards, when on 27th of October 1947, when India occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and Constituent Assembly of state of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir never challenged this domicile law, and they endorsed all those rules which were defined by Maharaja through Article 35A and various articles. So afterwards, we have seen the Narendra Modi agenda was especially the BJP agenda of greater India and Hindutva ideology, and now we can see the Hindutva ideology is ruling at the moment whole over the India. So they abrogated Article 370 and 35A on 5th of August. Now they have made amendments in domicile law. What amendments they have made in domicile law? They said all those people who have resided in occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they will be given permanent residence, domicile certificate, and those government officials who have worked for 10 years in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they will be given permanent residence. And those students who have studied in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir and appeared in class 10 and 12 exam, they will be given permanent residence like a state subjects, and the children of those people who fulfill all this requirement, even they never lived, those children who never lived in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they will be given the permanent residence certificate. So, and there is another thing, Narendra Modi has adopted a policy of NRC in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. Like all the Muslims have to go back to their local station to to clarify that they are the Indian citizen. Those people who already have a permanent residence, they have a domicile certificate, they have to go back to Tahsildar and to verify their permanent residence. And all the powers have been given to Tahsildar. Tahsildar is like a clear, like you can say, the local in charge of the local area to deal with all these land matters and everything. It is called Tahsildar, and it's a subunit of a district in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. If, for example, they brought another amendment as well, like in the law, if like these people who qualify according to them, we don't. As a Kashmiri, we don't. This is attempt of this attempt to change the demography of Indian occupied Kashmir. If they qualify and they go to the Tahsildar, go to the local administration, and the local administration refuse to give them this certificate, like if they delay for more than 15 years, more than 15 days, they will be fined for of 50,000 rupees. So my point is that we are very concerned. All these efforts are made by fascist BJP regime to change the demography of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, to convert majority Muslim state into majority Hindu state, and this is a breach of international law. This is a breach of Geneva Convention. We condemn this move, which was taken by the Narendra Modi. And another thing, they have scrapped another 39 years law as well. It was they passed a law. Those people who left who fled to Azad Jammu and Kashmir or Pakistan between 1949 to 1954, and that law was permitting them, if they come back, they will be treated as a permanent residents, and they were the Kashmiris, because they left because of Indian Army. But that law has been completely abolished. So we condemn this move as well. And about this is specification in this as well, about the changing in the jobs opportunities as well. Ministry of Home Affairs have issued the figure. There are 84,000 vacancies in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and up to 22,000 vacancies up to class 4, and 54,000 vacancies up to non-gazetted, and 7,000 plus vacancies is gazetted officer. So Kashmiris only those Kashmiri can apply up to class 4 vacancies, and rest of above vacancies like 750,000 is total 60, accumulated 63,000 vacancies. And the Indians can apply over their jobs. So all those will be taken by the fascist Narendra Modi government, and those people who are loyal to Modi government. So they will take the decision. So there is a full scale of I can say plan is going against the people of Indian occupied Jammu Kashmir. I would say the genocide was his those organizations, UK based organization who watches the genocide across the world, they issued a red alert after these actions taken by the Indian government. So we are very concerned. And the second part of your question, is it this region is going to nuclear war? I feel like that. Not I feel. I'm the recent actions of Narendra Modi made us to think about this very seriously, because he said openly, our nukes are not for Diwali. As declared for Clay, Diwali is a celebration of Hindus, and we respect that celebration of Hindus. But they said our nukes are not for Diwali. That means this we're gonna use against Pakistan. So he threatened Pakistan with a nuclear war. I appreciate Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, his decision. He's adopted the policy of restraint, and if same way if Imran Khan responded the threat of Narendra Modi. So I could say it could lead to the nuclear war after Pulwama attack. So there is a possibility of nuclear war between these countries. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for actually answering. So it seems like that the situation is actually getting really, really worse. Would Claire or Nigat like to add on something? Or
I think Fahim covered things really extensively there. I think the only thing to add is obviously the concern at the speed, the rate that Modi is putting himself on Kashmir, and it's going at a rapid rate. And so changing the demography like that and moving in more Hindus into the area would mean that even, we've got to work fast to get Kashmir their right for self-determination, or they're bringing in more, that even if we did get to a vote, it would go in, possibly in India's favour, and that is possibly what he's working towards as well. So it's the speed that he's going at, and as Fahim says, it's fascist motivations, and his behaviour is concerning. That's the only thing I would add. I think Fahim covered it really extensively.
Okay, thank you. My next question is actually going to be from you, Claire. How can we go forward with the suggestion of the MP, Paul Bristow, regarding messages and videos can be used as a strong evidence in our parliament? So what would you like to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, it's obviously something that we can do. It's quite conducive to a solution. Paul Bristow is the vice chair of the all-party cross-committee group for Kashmir, and he's very active on the situation and working really hard for Peterborough and for his area and for Kashmir. So I've already sent evidence to him. There is a gentleman, and I'm sure there are more, who are documenting human rights violations weekly, and he's picking those up from verified reports and documentation. So he's naming the people, he's naming the date, he's naming the incident, and collectively. So I myself have already sent them to Paul Bristow. They're in his possession, and this gentleman still continues to compile those. There is also some amazing research done by people on the ground in Indian-occupied Kashmir from human rights groups that are then extensively shared with other researchers and human rights, big organizations out with Indian-occupied Kashmir, and they have documented evidence. So it's actually all there. And I think sometimes we tend to think that members of parliament know everything and should know everything, but really, sometimes they don't. They do need this to be informed. So it's a great idea. If it can help, it's fantastic, because the evidence is there already. So we just need to alert people from Indian-occupied Kashmir, the human rights organizations in the Indian-occupied Kashmir and all around the globe. They can have that evidence. That evidence is there. United Nations, the evidence is in the United Nations. People have been there, done their speeches, provided the evidence. It is there. So we need to get that to the Kashmir Committee, to Paul Bristow, to any members of Parliament. So that's, I think, how we move forward with that one.
Question is actually going to be from Nigat. So I would like to ask you, Nigat, this, that would you like to share with us your personal views on how the Kashmir motion was presented and accepted by the Labour Party last November? What would you like to say on that?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Rehana, for doing a fantastic show and inviting me. And I just wanted to mention I'm the Sisters for Kashmir, not the chair, who is Councillor Zahira Naz. And thanks to her for giving us the opportunity to be able to get involved with the Kashmir issue, which many of us, like myself, are feeling very, very strongly about it at the time. And the motion that was passed last September through the Labour Party, and it was an emergency motion, and rightly so, because of the rapid speed this Modi government is actually doing things which are completely wrong. Obviously, many of people have already mentioned reports on top of reports, research, breaching nearly many laws, but not being stopped, even though the evidence and everything is there. So when the Article 370 and 35A of the Indian Constitution that provided a special status for the Kashmiris, I think that was another big step that he had taken when, and that was the time when on the TV, on videos that were being released, every person was feeling pain, what was happening, because it seemed like everybody is aware, but nobody is doing something who is in power. So I think having that motion, because it was that kind of situation, Labour Party passed a emergency motion in last September, and that was again based on the revoking of 370 and 35A of the Indian Constitution that provided a special status to Kashmiris. So it was in opposition to Indian state oppression in Kashmir, and also in support of self-determination with the obviously the rights of the Kashmiri. So there was a lot of stuff mentioned, and I think the emotions and the feelings that Kashmiris and the people had when this motion was passed was it was extremely, it felt some sort of relief that something might happen. Some people have recognized what is happening for many years in the Kashmir region. And one of the things, some of the things that was recognized at the time was during the conference within the motion was the major humanitarian crisis taking place in Kashmir region, the enforced disappearances of civilians, sexual violence of women by armed forces, and the overall prevalence of human rights violations in the region, which has been obviously happening for many, many years. The house arrests, imprisonment of politicians and activists and reporters and journalists urged the Labour Party to lift the curfews, allowing the humanitarian aid international observers to enter the region, accept that Kashmir is a disputed territory and the people of Kashmir should be given the right of self-determination, and the Labour Party to stand with the Kashmiri people fighting against the occupation, which is vital as Labour stands for social justice and ethical foreign policy. This is me personally, how severe and how serious this situation was. And to be honest, many young people and many other people, whether you're from Kashmir or non-Kashmiris, the awareness is very low because of not having much information around this on media. And when I saw all of this and understood what was happening, I'll be honest, it broke my heart, and I've had many sleepless nights because of the videos and stuff that was happening. And being a Muslim as well, I felt it was a duty upon us to be able to be a voice for those voiceless, and not just Kashmiris, anywhere in the world. I'm standing strong, and it just makes you want to, as a human, keep going, to put this pressure on and keep educating people, whether you're from the Valley or a Kashmiri or a non-Kashmiri. I think the education and the pressure just needs to keep going till we get some sort of justice for these vulnerable Kashmiris going through a lot of pain as we speak.
One of you, would you like to add something on?
Nigar really tapped into the emotion of the issue here, and a lot of us, we end up discussing and analysing and going over all that's happening, and sometimes seems like we forget what's at the root of this, and I think Nigar tapped into that and reminded us so very much about the importance of the human rights element of this, and that's why it's important that it gets that support. I mean, it got unanimous support because this is such an outrageous situation and such a crime to humanity. So I thought Nigar brought that out really well. So that's all I would say.
Thank you. My next question is actually going to be from Fahim. I would like to ask Fahim, could he actually review the concerns of MP James Early regarding the detentions taking place in occupied Kashmir? What would you like to add on and say?
Thank you very much, Rehana. James Delhi raised very valid points in that conference which was held on 17th of May, and about the draconian laws and Armed Forces Special Power Act. What is Armed Forces Special Power Act? They can arrest anyone for 2 years without any trial. And for example, if someone arrests 2 years ago and there's 5 days left and they release them instantly, and they instantly arrest them. Then they put him again under that law. So that person can be arrested repeatedly after 2 years. So it's this kind of uh, arrest, this kind of arrest being taken by Indian armies, and so far 18,000 youth have been arrested. All the Hurriyat leaders have been arrested under these black laws. We can see Yasin Malik, Shabir Ahmad Shah, uh, uh, Asya Darabi, all the Naeem Khan, all the prominent Masarat Alam, all prominent leaders have been arrested. Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani under house arrest for last 11 years, and he wasn't allowed to perform Jummah prayer. Mir Wise is Umar Farooqi is very prominent leader, and he's been under house arrest. And the black laws give impunity to Indian army. They can catch and kill anyone, and they use rape as a weapon of war. And all these black laws were challenged in European Parliament many times. It has been discussed in British Parliament. Amnesty International have condemned that, and U.S. Human Rights Watch have condemned these black laws. Even these black laws explicitly were mentioned in United Nations Human Rights Council report twice, and they have a separate chapter on this issue. So I would say there was a committee was formed under the leadership of Justice Verma, very prominent justice, when the Manmohan Singh was president of India in 2012, and they issued a report. The purpose of that committee is to make amendments on the criminal law and get all those people, all those criminal prosecuted in a fast way. They are who have committed rapes and sexual assault and different kind of crimes. And that report, I'm not talking about at the moment Amnesty International, United Nations, Human Rights. This is the Indian committee. They issued. They said these black laws give impunity to Indian army, and the Indian army use rape as a weapon of war, and those people those have committed sexual assault against the women, they should be prosecuted. And so far we haven't seen for last 70 years not a single army man has been prosecuted on these kind of crimes. As you know that Conan Poshpura, these give a clean sheet. These laws give a clean sheet to Indian army. Whatever they want to do, they can do. No court can ask them. They can't be tried in any court. So I will comment on the mass rape which took place in early 19th. Indian army cordon off two villages. There are two villages. One village name is Conan, and other village name is Poshpura, and they took all their men. They took all men of those villages out of the houses, took them to fields, and they raped women all night. And it's been reported by Amnesty International, and those victims are still seeking for justice, and they have made lots of appeals to international community. Their lives have been ruined by Indian army. Such horrible crimes are being committed by Indian army, but there is no justice for the people of. There's no process for trial process within Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where innocent Kashmiri can challenge these kind of crimes which are being committed by Indian army. So this is the time for the world to come forward, not just only issue the reports, not just only the highlights the issue. This is the time to resolve the issue. If you don't resolve the issue, and this is not this only, this will affect only people of Kashmir, because now not only people of Kashmir are facing, but whole South Asia region are facing such kind of mentalities, like fascist BJP mentality, Hitler mentality. Same. If you look at it, Hitler approach against Jews. First, he just said, "Oh, the Jews took over all economy, of Europe, Germany. Then he said we are superior. Then he excluded them from the citizenships, and then these are the first steps of the genocide. Then he committed worst genocide of the world against Jews. 6 million Jews were massacred, killed by Hitler. Same like we have seen about Rohingya Muslim. They were excluded in 1982 from the citizenship registered. Whatever they said that they are stateless. On that time, no one raised voice about the Rohingya Muslim. We have seen recently how the Rohingya Muslim were killed by Burma army. They were stateless and they jumped in they tried to save the life. They jumped in the sea. Most of thousands of people were killed. They died, drowned in the sea, and thousands of women were raped. So thousands of fled to different countries, Bangladesh, and the Bangladesh didn't allow them to enter the borders. So same kind of strategy Narendra Modi first adopted about this NRC in India. They excluded them. Now they again changed the domicile law. Same. So is heading towards the genocide. So the history says such kind of dictators, such kind of fascists always take these steps. And the last steps is a ethnic cleansing. So it's a time to raise this voice. It's time to challenge all these actions which are being taken by fascist Modi regime. So if we must get united. First of all, we must get united on this point. We should raise awareness about the Armed Forces Special Power Act on every forum, because we have a very valid documents about against these black laws. I hope in the future Clay Bidwell, NIGAT, all other organizations will get together and we'll plan a strategy. We make a strategy on this issue. How can we raise awareness, particular on the Armed Forces Special Power Acts law?
Okay, thank you, Fahim. Would Claire or Nigat like to add on anything before I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think very valid comments there. It is nearly I think it's stage 9 of the genocide if you look at the steps, so it needs to be spoken. The other thing is, yeah, great, those connections that we can make with all organizations, because this morning the meeting that I was involved in was with another very active group that are looking exactly at what Fahim said then. So we connect all that knowledge, unite all that knowledge and the skills that we have got. You know, we have the ability to stop this, to work together, move forward and stop this. So yes, and as Fahim clearly set out there, we need to.
Claire, my next question is actually going to be from you. I would like to ask you, is that how did MP Jonathan Gollis compare the lockdown between UK and the occupied Jammu and Kashmir? What comparison can you make?
Yeah, I mean, he talked about, didn't he? I mean, he's the MP for Stoke-on-Trent, and he talked about the fact that we can't compare it, because our lockdown, you know, in Indian occupied Kashmir, they are locked into their houses, they've got military on their street, they are subjected to rapes, they are subjected to abuse, there are missing, you know, husbands, there are half widows, there are children. So they live every day in fear, they live around military, they have no choice. And that's before we even bring COVID to it. So we're then only, you know, our communication systems are good, unlike Indian occupied Kashmir, who didn't have any for 7-8 months, and now we're on 2G, and even then it keeps getting cut. So he made it very clear that although there's the link between us and Indian occupied Kashmir and the lockdown, and perhaps we can have some sense of it, that it's not actually comparable at all because of the extremes, the abuses, the atrocities that they are living with. And I think, you know, it taps in again to how, you know, many people's mental health or emotional states, we're all concerned. We can't be with ill families. There are awful stories here. So we just need to magnify that feeling and just imagine, put ourselves in the shoes of Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir, and their life must be, you know, it's a living hell, it's a tragedy, and they live with that day after day after day. And I think Jonathan Gullis pulled through that it isn't comparable. You know, there's similarities, but it's not comparable.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody one of you, like Fahim or Nigat, would you like to add? I can move on to the next question.
I just want to mention again with the MP, the comparisons he's made and everything, which is absolutely. I work with many families here, and when the lockdown happened, and with mental health, that's my profession. Um, the depression rates, the suicidal thoughts, hugely, people were affected. And yes, if you compare it with, obviously it's nothing like the lockdown in Jammu and Kashmir, which was obviously discussed. And I I would obviously just seeing that we couldn't sacrifice this small amount of freedom um, in the UK with these closures of shops and various other stuff. But what's happening there, like Claire mentioned, in terms of, on top of that, the human right violations, the rapes, and so much for those people. The mental health, even though whatever will happen eventually, even when they do get this the freedom, which we're all obviously collectively aiming, and inshallah it will happen. But what will happen to people afterwards, that is another thing that I feel that many people forget, that the lives of those children, the women, the husband, will they have a life? And that is very saddening when you actually think about it.
Yeah, because like it's going to have a long effect on the mental health. Like to ask you, Nigat, is what views did MP Andrew Gonwin share regarding Britain, United Nations, or any third party taking the role of the international leadership? So how would you actually like add on to that?
Yeah, I think he mentioned, there is room for international leadership, and I think we would all agree with that, because this isn't, it's not a bilateral issue anymore. Whether it was before, I don't know. But what needs to happen, as he's mentioned, yes, there needs to be, India and Pakistan have to talk to each other, but not make a decision without involving the people of Kashmir, because they are the victims. And obviously involving people from the Kashmir and the Kashmiri diaspora around the world, because he's mentioned there needs to be an end to this Kashmir and the human rights violations that are taking place, and using roles on international level, such as the MPs. He mentions about using positions to raise the issues in the House of Commons and House of Lords, to ensure the Kashmiri voices are heard in the British parliamentary system. And we are raising the voices, but then again, we need the support. We need, the MPs, the parliamentarians, to actually recognize and hear our voices. And if we continue these voices, obviously these are for the right reasons. So looking at all the reports, the research, everything is there with the United Nations, and many, obviously, the reports. So I feel the things that he's mentioned, I kind of like agree with him, in terms of UK, for example, being in 1947, UK was there, so they have some sort of responsibility, because if they didn't resolve the issue at that time, maybe if they did, maybe it wouldn't cause this much problems. And the other thing is, UK is one of the leaders of the permanent members, who 193, I think, member states, who make up the United Nations. So I think UK is one of them. So I think UK could actually take a role, a leadership role, obviously involving everybody else as well, to be able to uh, try to put a stop to this. And United Nations' most important aspects of UN international power is its responsibility to maintain peace and security, which I feel, if you look at everything, and one of the things that people, what I was always understanding is, when I understood what United Nations is for, it feels they're failing in what their role is. Um, in a world facing many, obviously, challenges across the world, people look up to United Nations, or shall I say, were used to, till obviously realizing they're not actually doing what they should be doing, and to play a key role in resolving issues like this. And United Nations is failing vital areas such as peace and security, which is their responsibility, and a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. And I think if the United Nations, the UK, everybody coming together, understanding this is a human rights violation taking place, it's been going on for many decades now, something needs to happen. Yes, it's okay standing in solidarity. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit harsh here, because you hear solidarity and all of that, but I think it's time for action, because the way Modi government is going on now, first the revoking of those articles what were mentioned, then this other thing that the missile thing that's been put in place as well now. So I think step by step, it seems like he's got a plan. He knows what he's doing, and eventually, the poor Kashmiris are having to take the consequences. And I think it's about time that action needs to be taken from these leaders, and to be able to put an end to this and just prove to everybody that United Nations is doing what it should be doing. UK is there for human rights. Human rights, wherever, they don't pick and choose places where they need to intervene and stop the human right violations, and keep saying it's a bilateral issue, because if it was, it's not resolved. So somebody needs to step in to stop this.
Nigat, I would like to say that it's actually not a bilateral issue, because it's actually recognized by the United Nations. So it's something that was promised to the people of Kashmir. So we can't actually say that I know that some people are saying this, even some governments and some MPs have maybe even said this as well, but it's actually not right.
No.
And yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's just making sure that, like what he said, is there is room for international leadership, and I do agree. And obviously not without the Kashmiri people or the Kashmiri diaspora around the world. I think theirs is the final say, who are the victims, and they need to be heard. And obviously self-determination, and we just need to make sure that their voices are not actually ignored. Whoever takes this leadership role is making sure they are involved in making that decision.
I would like to add there, I think Nigat's right. I think it's tapping into the energy of, I think all four of us here having this talk have been accused in the past of just talking and no action, but I think the four of us here are very active and very passionate about making those changes. UN isn't operating correctly, so we do need to, all of us, raise the awareness with people to put pressure on these MPs that are recognizing it's not working and it needs to work. We need to get more of us active and put that pressure on there, so we do get UN acting effectively. We need to act without a doubt, and I think they're the things that were tapped into there that we need to act on, because there's higher, the UN is you could have a whole show on the functions of the UN and why it's failing, that it's that big. So it needs movement from the people, in my opinion, and everything we're doing and raising awareness, we need to just keep doing that, because it's so important.
Okay, thank you, Claire. My next question is actually going to be from Fahim. My question is actually going to be that what are the concerns of Ghulam Muhammad Safi from the Tehreek-e-Hurriyat Jammu and Kashmir and Altaf Hussain Butt, president of the Jammu and Kashmir Salvation Movement, regarding the triple lockdown which has been imposed in Kashmir, and what can the concerns be in the South Asia regarding the triple lockdown?
Thank you very much, Rehana. Ghulam Muhammad Safi Sahab, he is the convener of Tehreek-e-Hurriyat Jammu Kashmir, and which represent Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani organization. Ghulam Muhammad Safi Sahab is a person who led the uprising in 1989. On that time, Altaf Ahmed Butt was very quite young, and all these people they went into the election in 1927, and those elections were rigged by Indian Army. So on that, after that, they got angry. Whatever they said, there is no solution. Uh, they boycotted the elections. They came on the street. They protested, and Gokadal Bridge is a famous massacre was committed by Indian Army when they were doing the peaceful procession, and the Indian Army killed around 50 people on that time. First massacre in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So that since then the uprising is getting popular day by day. They are concerned about triple lockdown, as you said. They said in their speeches, one lockdown they faced in 1990s when the popular uprising started. Then another lockdown they have been facing now, which was imposed on 5th of August 2019, and the third lockdown under the cover of coronavirus. With the Washington Post has reported this one. Okay, India is intensify its brutal lockdown under the coronavirus. So in these lockdowns, the people are really suffering, and they are worried. They know the international NGOs, the relief agencies, they don't have access, and they want the people. Narendra Modi has adopted the policies of dark ages. I said in many occasions about this. He adopted the policy of dark ages when king used to put cities under siege by cutting off their supplies to make them bow down in front of their terms and condition. Same like Narendra Modi wants the people of Indian occupied Jammu Kashmir to bow down in front of his terms and condition, which are the Hindutva ideology, fascist regime, and he wants the people of Kashmir to give up their demand for right to self-determination and accept Indian occupation. But the people of Indian occupied Jammu Kashmir, Ghulam Mohammad Safi Saab, Altaf Ahmed Bud, and like other people, they have given countless sacrifices for the fundamental and basic right to self-determination, and they are determined. They will get their right of self-determination at any cost, and their sacrifices have they proven that they will never bow down in front of Narendra Modi. But it is a time for us to act. It is a time for us to make a strategy, a comprehensive strategy to raise awareness on this issue. So Kashmiri diaspora, Pakistani diaspora, the people like the great ambassador of Kashmir, like Claire Bidwell, all these people have to get together and make a comprehensive strategy. How can we tackle this issue? Being a Kashmiri, I'm very thankful to Claire Bidwell. She's our ambassador, and we are proud of you, the way you're doing work. So my whole organization, not only organization, not matter organization, all the Kashmiri community, Pakistani community, all the peace-loving people appreciate your tremendous work. Thank you.
Thank you, Fahim. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor, by the way.
So my next question is actually going to be from yourself, Claire. What makes the MP and Higginbotham's a positive? The UK has an incredible cross-party consensus on the Kashmir issue.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was part, at the time when he's made that comment, he was part of an MPs conference, on the 17th of May, where they were all gathered together, and he was able to see that there were Labour MPs there, Conservative MPs. But I mean, further to that, they've got their all parliamentary parties committee group in the House of Commons, which I suspect he's either part of or he's visited along. I mean, I think at the last conference in Parliament back in February, there was over 70 members that turned up to show support, and members from all parties. I think that fact that it is a human rights issue makes it transcend all party political beliefs. All those beliefs about how we would manage our lifestyles kind of go out the window when we're looking at human rights. So, and furthermore, to add earlier, this is an international issue. When there's disputed territory at land, and I mean, India themselves made it an international issue when they took it to the United Nations. So he will have seen the strength of that, and obviously they talk, they have dialogue when we don't see them as well. So it's heartening that he said that, because you know, they can feel it, they've built it together, and these are the people that we need to be getting that message through, because they are the ones with the power in differences we want to. So very encouraging statement from him, and I think it's encouraging for all of us here.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to ask you a question, is that what are the concerns of the MP, Kate, with the COVID-19 in occupied Jammu and Kashmir regarding the doctors and the students?
The concerns, the concerns of the MP Kate Holland were, where things were mentioned, was due to the lockdown and the internet cut off, and the COVID-19 outbreak. So she mentioned the doctors in Kashmir couldn't have researched or downloaded the latest information around the COVID, which about the pandemic, and also that the students were barred from using the online resources for studies. And she's also emphasized and really stressed around the importance of UN interventions, because of the human rights are being violated, and the UN must step in to resolve the issue. So touching on the COVID-19, you know, the communication lockdown and not having access to internet, we already can understand that when this pandemic and the virus actually hit us in UK, what we went through, it was something that nobody was prepared for. The information was coming, going, so there was different information. There was a lot of confusion. There was some WhatsApp messages coming through which weren't obviously the right information. So I can remember, because from the beginning in March when this started, one of the things I started doing here was educating the BAME community, more specifically our South Asian community. So I set up a WhatsApp group, individually trying to simplify information, because there was so much coming and a lot of stress, anxiety over the information. So just comparing that, and you know, having a lockdown and no internet access, especially in this pandemic over in Kashmir Valley, it's just ridiculous. And I think, and many people thought, because of what we, how we reacted in UK with this COVID-19, you know, the homeless were taken into hotels and stuff like that. And I would have thought that, you know, the issue in Kashmir may be because of COVID-19 and everything. Somebody might have some heart or some humanity to be able to, you know, look after the Kashmiris around at least that period. But unfortunately, that's not what I've heard and what I've come across, and I can understand the concerns the actually mentioned, and which makes it even more important that the, you know, the total communication blackout and reports of widespread human rights abuses, already bad situation they're in, has got much worse in a short space of time. So I think it's even more important. What she's stressing is the importance of the UN stepping in and resolving this, because it's been going on, but then during this really horrible situation we're all in, they are humans, they're not objects, they have hearts, they have feelings, they should have a future, and they should have, you know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I was quite glad that she's actually brought this up when she's actually mentioned in the conference around this issue, because often some things get missed. So I find I've got to thank the organisers. I think it's Fahim, for organising such a wonderful conference in terms of just understanding the views on where these MPs stand. Claire mentioned, this shouldn't be around, you know, parties and all of that, because Kashmir issue should be everybody's issue, because it's a human rights issue, and anybody who is human and who is against any injustice should be standing for this, whether you're Kashmiri or you're not a Kashmiri, or whether you're conservative or liberal Democrat. So I think everybody needs to come united, come together, and put all those party issues or whatever they have, to put them aside and focus on this. And here I would also really thank Claire for actually coming on board. And I understand from Claire that, you know, she's got representations from across you know, the countries, and she's working passionately, very hard, tirelessly, and not being from the Kashmiri community. And that just proves that there are humans who are standing against wrong and crime, and that's how many others should be standing. And I know there are many others, but I think, like Claire mentioned, I often get this as well: what's the point of these conferences, the demonstration? Nothing's happening. And I agree with Claire that the awareness is very, very important, because till you don't have the knowledge is power, and if we don't have the awareness what's happening around in Kashmir, how are you supposed to take those steps further to be able to, you know, challenge the injustice? And I'm one of them, and I'm not afraid to say that I was not aware of such horrific crimes till you know, last year, when it started coming all over media through WhatsApp. And obviously it's shut down now, you don't hear a word. And when media is silenced, it's people like us that needs to be the voice, needs to bring these things forward. And just like yourself, Rehana, bringing these shows on regular, and nothing can stop us from actually creating that awareness and standing in solidarity, keep going. And that's how something will develop, rather than sitting at home thinking, oh, what's going to happen, we won't be able to do anything. So I feel really grateful, and thank Claire for actually bringing everybody together, shall I say. Because another point I would love to make is the strategy, coming together, coming united, and having a good strategy to be able to deal with this issue, because it's not a small issue, it's a very big and important issue, and a very sensitive issue. So I think we all need to be very careful and mindful of what we're dealing with, and come together and do it properly, rather than doing things separately, which is all good. But I think unity is very important, very powerful. And I think I see that with many organizations who are coming together. And obviously, I'm so glad that I've actually met all of you. Rehana, Claire, Fahim, and many others, you know, who were joining, and it creates more awareness with me as well. And I've learned so much from many groups who have a lot of knowledge around, you know, the history, what's happened.
We are coming towards the end of our program. Seems like this program has actually become quite longer. So we would like you to stay connected, and we are going to be showing you the remaining part tomorrow. As you understand, Kashmir is a very sensitive issue, and in the conference, a lot of things were covered, and we are trying our best to actually show you as much as we can all the reviews done by the MPs who came on the conference. So I hope to see you tomorrow, and take care of yourself and have a good evening.